What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero here with Judd Zulgad. I think it's early Friday morning at this point, Judd.
Yes, sir, it is.
A long first round that got a lot more interesting for the Minnesota Vikings when they trade back in to number 29 and take Harrison Smith. It is interesting, Judd, because so many crazy things can happen on draft day, but what's the scenario we talked about on your show about 18 hours ago? It was they're going to try to do a deal, get a little more value out of that pick,
right,
take Matt Khalil, and then take Harrison Smith. I thought they could get him in round 2. They end up coming back in round 1, but it's almost exactly what we saw coming. And it's fairly obvious when you look at this team, as much as you say that every team tries to draft the best available players and build your roster that way, what were their two biggest needs on this team? Left tackle, safety.
Yep, and they still have to work on wide receiver, cornerback, but you know what? It's a rebuilding process, and they started that tonight. Give credit to Rick Spielman. Rick Spielman got Cleveland to bite on making a trade. He got 3 additional picks. The Vikings started this draft, folks, with 13 draft picks because Spielman flip-flopped with Cleveland. Now, obviously, the Vikings were never going to take Richardson, the running back from Alabama, but what was going to happen was clearly the Vikings scared the Browns into thinking somebody else was going to come up.
Tampa Bay.
And try and get him. So they did their job there. Spielman, in running the draft for the first time, and this is going to take a while to play out, but in running the draft for the first time by himself now as the Vikings GM, did a pretty savvy job tonight of accruing picks and making good use of them.
No, and everything comes down to evaluation. I'm not going to sit here just like I wouldn't rip a draft the night you're beginning, and you still got 10 picks to go. A lot of things can happen, but I think that the philosophy of it makes sense, and this ties back together with the philosophy in free agency, which was they wanted to set themselves up well in the draft, and they wanted to get the guys they needed. Everything that he said, and I called him out on it in the press conference for the word that I'm not going to reuse in this video.
You can't use that word.
But all the way back to the scouting combine, there was this shift in rhetoric, and we had both been hearing behind the scenes that they really liked Matt Khalil, and that they looked at that guy and they saw the things you could do on the offensive line, and all of a sudden it became, you don't really need a left tackle, and all of a sudden then it was, we're looking at the cornerback and the receiver. Matt Khalil was always going to be the guy. They looked at everybody. I'm sure they liked those players. But Matt Khalil, regardless of where they had him graded, they were going to go get that guy because they have too much invested in Christian Ponder.
Exactly. That's what it came down to. This pick literally had to do as much with Christian Ponder being the 12th overall pick last year as anything. This is the guy that was going to protect and is going to protect Christian Ponder. When the Vikings were forced to cut Bryant McKinney, when they realized they couldn't go out in free agency and get a left tackle, Matt Khalil became their guy. And they created in the recent weeks as much misinformation as possible. But you know what? It's no surprise. We sat here a couple days ago and previewing the draft and talked about this, Tom. What you hear in the 2 weeks leading up to the draft, you have to discount. What you have to trust is what the people you talked to last winter, what you saw last winter, and that is that this team, as much as they need a cornerback, as much as they need help at so many positions, wide receiver, left tackle is the key to this offense, and having a competent left tackle for maybe the next 10 years now, that was the important thing. They went out, they got that guy.
And safety was going to be the other position because they are barren at safety. As much as everybody talked about cornerback and receiver, what I've been saying for a while is those were the two positions you had to draft, you had to go to up high. Not just because there's depth at corner and receiver, particularly receiver. They should still be able to get a very good receiver, not a guy who's necessarily going to be a number 1 or a Pro Bowler, but a guy who can come in and contribute for you. You should be able to get that in round 3 of this draft.
Right.
You look at it at the receiver position, they've got Percy Harvin, and they're not going to play a lot of 3-wide sets. You got Michael Jenkins, you got Jerome Simpson now, and at corner they have Chris Cook back, Antoine Winfield for now. You sign a guy like Chris Carr. The point is, if you're looking at the overall team building, the places they had no answers, none. Left tackle and safety.
Yeah, the safety position is terrible here. It's absolutely terrible, and this kid will come in here, and you know what? Tonight, they drafted 2 guys they think will start from day 1. It's that simple. They have 2 guys now on that roster who they think can come in here and start immediately. But let's go back to the defense they play, too. The Tampa 2 defense, the cover 2 scheme. Harrison Smith comes here from Notre Dame. He's familiar with their scheme. He can step in and play that scheme. You look at their cornerbacks. Number 1, their cornerbacks. They're going to get Chris Cook back, who we don't know a ton about yet, but he's an upgrade on what they have, we think. They're going to get Winfield back, and they need these guys to essentially do what? They need them to redirect the wide receivers towards the safeties. The problem is last year when you redirected the wide receivers towards the safeties couldn't stop them. So yeah, it makes perfect sense. And this is all part of a process too, Tom. I mean, this is not a team that is drafting guys and saying, oh, all right, we got our left tackle, safety, and now we're a playoff team. This is a team that starting tonight has has to completely rebuild, and that's what they're doing.
Your starting safeties next year are probably Harrison Smith and Mistro Raymond. I would think, looking at it now. I still think they're going to draft another safety. If you got 10 picks left, I don't think they'll end up with 10. I think they'll end up with fewer than that. They might trade back some more. I think they'll be compelled, though, to try to trade up, maybe give another pick in round 3. Right. They can't trade 2 of those 4th-round picks because they're compensatory selections, but they might try to find another way back in to the first 3 rounds, which is where you're generally going to get your starters.
And don't forget, tomorrow now, Friday, they're going to have 1 draft pick going in. Right. My guess is that they're going to get an extra
Rick's
pick.
Rick's going to get antsy for one thing.
Yeah, so they're going to get, my guess is they're going to trade some of those Saturday picks, rounds 4 through 7, some of those picks to get back into either rounds 2 or 3, and you'll probably end up, my guess is seeing them draft 2 players tomorrow. But I do give Spielman credit. You can't judge his draft for about 3 years, but what you can do tonight is judge the fact that he got off to a good start in accruing extra picks. If you're a bad team, what do you want? You want to get extra picks. Right. That's what he did.
They will emerge from this draft with at least 1 receiver, maybe 2. I think they'll still emerge with another safety because they just need the depth there. Mm-hmm. They'll emerge with at least 1 cornerback. They'll get a middle linebacker somewhere. They'll get a defensive tackle somewhere. You can look all over the roster and you can say maybe even a running back. Maybe even in the late rounds you're taking some guy who might have some special teams ability. They're going to try to plug in a bunch of different spots here and find some guys to bring in for competition. So it should be interesting, but I think I know this much. Last year at the draft party was moved this year to the Metrodome. When we walked in last year to Winter Park, there were boos for Christian Ponder, and Rick Spielman was booed.
Because they didn't draft the cornerback from Nebraska.
Yes.
That's why people were all upset last year.
Tonight, I was told that people at the Metrodome, wild cheers for the Matt Khalil pick after the trade back. All of a sudden, for all the flack that Rick Spielman's gotten, and again, not sitting here saying he's solved all the issues, but for all the flack he's gotten, I think people look at this and say, okay, on this night, he knew what he was doing.
And real quick, too, another key to me is they finally had one guy in charge of the draft. That's what I've been saying all along. Whether Rick Spielman proves to be the right GM for this team or not, I have no idea. What I like is tonight somebody could sit there and say, here's what we're going to do. They didn't have to defer to 18 other people to find out what they thought before they could make a move. So when Cleveland comes to you and says, here's the trade, you say, okay, we're going to do it.
You ready for 2 more days of this?
I'm going to go to sleep real soon.
You got to be on the air in
I got a show
hours.
at 9 a.m. 9 to noon, Judd and Fun tomorrow.
I hope you're going to be awake.
That's Friday.
He is Judd. I'm Tom. Full Vikings coverage, and there's a lot of it right now at 1500ESPN.com. See ya.